Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm on in Chalk Balloon. We've got longtime fools Lou Whiteman and Matt Frankel giving a 1 to 10 rating to the artist formerly known as the Bank of the Ozarks. We might slip into that sometimes. It's top 100 Moneyball database stock, Bank OZK, ticker symbol OZK. First, we'll rate the strength of Bank OZK's business, including factors like industry and competition. A 10 is invincible. A 1 is hopeless. Matt's at an 8. Lou, you're at a 7.
Yeah, so, this is a bread and butter regional bank, 240 locations in 8 states, spread mostly about the Sunbelt. A lot to like on paper. We like Sunbelt banks because that is where the economy has been humming. But, and I will say but, they are a newcomer in a lot of the best markets they're in. They don't have the foundation that some of their rivals have in these markets. There's always been discussions around this bank and how aggressive they grew their commercial real estate portfolio, which I kind of wonder about in this market. Look, repayments on that portfolio have accelerated lately, which I think helps some of those fears. Bottom line for me is I respect the franchise. I'm not quite as enamored with it as some of their peers, so I'm at a 7.
Yeah, I was at an 8. I like the expansion into the right markets like Lou was talking about. Their loan growth has been above average. It's a highly profitable bank, which I'll talk about more in a bit. Their average loan yield is almost 7.8%. A couple of dings, about 55% of the deposits are CDs, which means they're locked into a higher deposit cost even as the Fed lowers rates. And 88% of the loan portfolio has variable rates, which is kind of a rarity, meaning that if rates fall, they're getting less money. So those are both dings, but it's still an 8 overall.
For management, a 10 is Warren Buffett, a 1 is Homer Simpson. Matt's at a 9. Lou, you're at an 8.
So let me tell you about George Gleason. It came into a little bank in 1979. A bank with 2 branches, bought like $28 million in assets. Gleason bought that bank. He's still CEO. It's now a $40 billion institution. That's pretty impressive. To be honest, too, they have a good bench, which I like because, he's been there a while. But Tim Hicks, the CFO, he's only been in that role since 2022. The bank president started in that role in 2021. So I both love the story, but I dinged them a little bit here just because when you've been around since 1979, the succession questions are sure to come up, and they don't really have that fully built-out bench that I'd like to see.
Yeah, I was at a 9, but it could have easily been as an 8 at an 8. I agree with Lou. Just judging George Gleason, it would be a 9 or a high 9 probably. Not as worried about succession as Lou, which is why I gave it a 9, not an 8. Lou mentioned the deep bench and a relatively young bench. It's not just the CFO. There's a lot of young executives in the company that I think could step into higher roles. So I'm at a 9.
For financials, a 10 is a fortress, a 1 is yikes. Matt's at an 8. Lou, you're at a 7.
So there's been a lot of talk about cockroaches of late with banks, and I don't think that this is a cockroach-infested institution. But I mentioned at the top, there's always questions about just the aggressiveness of their commercial real estate build-out. Nearly 60% of the loan book is related to real estate. Matt was talking about some of the pricing they've used. They are, again, as the new entrant, I think they have been more aggressive. So it's not really something I'm scared of, but it's something I'm watching. Credit quality to their credit remains strong. Deposit growth was really solid, 9%. However, net interest income grew a lot smaller in deposit growth. So again, I think that's kind of speaks to kind of them paying up some. They've got a great history. I'd like to see more non-interest income like U.S. Bank and some of the ones we've talked about. A lot to like, not wow for me. So a 7.
Yeah, really strong net interest margin. It's 4.3%. For comparison, U.S. Bank that we just talked about was 2.75%. Their efficiency ratio is unheard of for in the context of big banks. As is their 0.25% net charge-off ratio. Lou mentioned a lot of commercial real estate, but that's great credit quality. Has raised the dividend for 58 consecutive quarters. They're one of 2 companies I know that raised their dividend on a quarterly basis, Realty Income being the other one. So I'm at an 8 here.
But can Bank OZK pay monthly dividends? We'll have to see. Matt,
that's the next step.
That's true. I guess they could. What's stopping them? Let's talk valuation, Matt. How well will Bank OZK's stock do over the next 5 years? How safe is it? 10's a sure thing, 1's a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I said 10 to 15%, mostly as a function of the banking environment. A friendly administration in terms of bank regulations. Interest rates are falling. We just got a rate cut right before we recorded this. And I mentioned that a lot of their deposits are CDs. It's not that big of a problem. Most of their CDs are 1 year or less in maturity length. So the average deposit cost is currently 3.78%, and that should mean that they're a bigger winner of rate cuts than most. So I'm at 10 to 15%. Safety score is 7 just because a lot can go wrong in banking in 5 years.
So I'll be honest, this isn't my favorite franchise, as I said, but right now you can buy the stock for less than its book value and pick up a 4% dividend yield to boot. That doesn't make sense. I think it'll work out over time. So I'm at 10 to 15% just as a market beater. Safety, I'm only at a 5 because, again, I don't have any thing that I'm worried about in specific, but they are the new entrant in a lot of their markets. Again, they don't have, I think, that foundation in important markets that other banking franchises have in the Southeast. I don't fear anything going on, but it's just not as solid of a foundation for me as some of them out there.
Thanks to Lou and Matt. They've given Bank OZK an overall score of 7.4 out of 10. For Toppets, in Bank OZK's weight class, Matt prefers Truist and Lou prefers TFS Financial. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is East West Bancorp. Till then, Fool on. Someone's just angling for that outtake.